Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, CesarRespino. Hello there and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, CesarRespino. And today I have a special guest. His name is Blake. Hey, Blake, how are you, man?
Cesar, I'm good, brother. Thanks for having me, man. I'm pumped.
Awesome. Well, man, awesome. Let me tell our listeners a little bit about your background. I'm very amazed about it. And so definitely I cannot wait to get into this interview. So Blake, in just a few short years, has generated over 17 million in sales and helped thousands of entrepreneurs launch a successful sales funnel. Having worked with sharks from ABC's TV series Shark Tank, along with HG and AMC TV stars, Blake is on a mission to help as many people as possible achieve their financial freedom with an online business. Awesome, man. That's you know what? That's pretty awesome. And I always wonder, like, how do we get to this point, right? And so we're gonna tap into that. Like, tell me about where are you from and what was your upbringing?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised. I'm a Florida boy, Orlando, Florida. Been here my whole life. It wasn't until not too long ago I got into digital marketing out of like truly got into digital marketing out of pure frustration, which is a story behind that. Okay. But yeah, I've just been in Florida, doing my thing. My whole mission in life is really just to help as many people as possible. Like, truly believe that they can generate a life-changing income using the internet, because I was probably the biggest skeptic at first. Mm-hmm. And when I got over that limiting belief, I realized that if I could get over it, I know that other people can get over it as well.
Yeah, definitely. So since you said you kind of stumbled on this, what was your dream as a kid? Like, what would you want it to be when you grew up?
Yo, man, funny enough, man. So I always had dreams of playing in the NBA. Okay. And then I realized, like, it's like, Blake, come on, like look in the mirror. You're going to have to pack it up pretty soon and call it quits on that. And it was just one of those things where it's like, you know what? Like, I loved basketball. I grew up an athlete. I played high school, didn't play the college levels. At that point, I was like, you know what? Maybe there's like a different path in me for life. Yeah. So I kind of packed it up on that dream and, started pursuing other opportunities. But yeah, if I had to be like, hey, what do you want to be? Like, some kids want to be astronauts. Some kids want to be like celebrities. I was like, I just want to be an NBA player. So that was like my childhood dream. It just never came to fruition how I wanted it to.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of times, oftentimes, when I talk to people, some people come from very, humble beginnings. Some people come from very negative beginnings. There's all kinds of walks in life, right? And so for you, was there any particular person that was kind of guiding you through school, or were you one of those kids that actually got into trouble, got into like wrongdoings? Like, what was that about?
Yeah, so I never really got into too much trouble, right? I think as kids, we all grow up, we all get into our fair share of it, right? I mean, part of being a kid is getting in trouble. But no, look, I've been fortunate enough, right? I've been blessed and fortunate enough. I've had an amazing upbringing, amazing parents, amazing family and friends, to really provide the guidance in my life. So that, to me, I'm so grateful for that, because look, I didn't realize like when you're growing up, I'm just like, this is normal, right? Everyone's supposed to have this. And then you get older and you realize, no, you're like really fortunate and lucky. So every day it's a blessing realizing that, because when you're in the moment of it growing up, I wouldn't say I took it for granted. I just assumed that's how life was, because I was just oblivious to it. Mm-hmm. And then I realized, I'm like, wait, no, I had it like really amazing. So I think a lot of that upbringing was the reason it instilled such high values and morals and like such an ambitious work ethic in me to, get me to where I am today.
Yeah. You know what? And you actually brought up a good point. I do believe that some people do, unfortunately, take things for granted. They don't realize that, as you said, every day is a blessing. And I always say that if you're watching this, you're listening to us right now, that is a blessing by itself. That means that God or the universe, whoever you believe in, is not done yet with you. And you have so much to accomplish.
Yet sometimes we forget about those things, right? We tend to go out and, party, get hungover, and just like wake up at whatever time, realizing that tomorrow's going to be promised when really tomorrow is not promised, right? So that's a good point that you bring up, because sometimes we tend to forget that when we're kids. I know for me, as I'm getting older, like, man, I appreciate life a whole different level, right? And I wish I would have done this in my early 20s,
And you have to, right? It's a great point, right? It's like, look, it's hard not to take things for granted, right? If you're a normal human, every day you wake up, most humans, right, myself included, we just take stuff for granted. It's what we do. And I think you have to go through, like, whether it's a life-changing experience, whether it's a specific situation that you came out on top where you could reflect back and go, wow, I'm grateful for what I have and where I've been and where I've came from. But I would say in the day-to-day, look, it's tough. It's hard. But you just have to realize at the end of the day, like, as you're waking up, someone's taking their last breath, and you've been given an opportunity to, carpe diem, seize the day, go after it, and like be all you can be. Because at the end of this life, like, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how many awards you have. It matters the people you spend the time with, because time is the one asset you will never get back. Every second you're getting older, every second you're doing something that you might not want to do, that maybe you love doing, whatever it is. You just got to realize that at the end of this life, you need to realize that time was the one thing that it's you never get it back. So like, if you always operate under that notion, it will kind of kick your butt in gear on a daily basis. Because look, I don't know about you, but I know that I'm not going to be old one day. God bless, I make it to where I'm really old and gray. Like, I just do not want to be in that rocking chair living with regret of what if. So if you're out there and you're listening, you're watching, like, let time be the thing that kicks your butt into gear to doing the things that you're truly capable of doing.
Yeah, that reminds me of, I think it was Les Brown that mentioned this. And he said, imagine that you're sitting on your deathbed, and around your deathbed are all the ghosts surrounding you of the dreams and things that you could have done and brought into fruition. And now they're dying with you because you never took that opportunity to bring them out, whether it was writing a book, whether it being on this podcast, whether it's getting yourself out there, just because you didn't have the courage.
Yeah.
And now you're in your deathbed, and that's it. There's nothing else to do.
Nothing else. Yeah. Like, when you're like Steve Jobs, I think, said the best, or whoever said it, quote unquote. At the end of this life, right, wherever, when it's over, trust me, the last thing you'd be worried about is who judged you, is who criticized you, is looking like a fool or being embarrassed or scared of failing. That is the last thing you'd be worried about. Your life is going to be put into perspective in like 3 seconds, and you will look back and go, damn, why didn't I at least try that? I used to have, this was crazy. It might sound stupid, right? I laughed at this too. There was like a time, like 5 years ago, I think it was. It's called the rocking chair test. And if you don't know what it is, go Google rocking chair test. And I Google this rocking chair test, and I check it out. And it's basically this concept of, like, if you're sitting in a rocking chair and you're old and gray and you're like, that's it, life's over, you're too old, you can't do anything anymore. Are you going to sit there and rock and be like, man, like, I didn't try the things I wish I tried doing? So I went out, I bought a rocking chair on Craigslist, and I put it in my family room, and I would sit on it from time to time and go, man, like where are you right now? Are you making the necessary moves you need to be making in order to not be in this chair in 30, 40, 50 years going, damn, like, I didn't capitalize on all I can? And honestly, doing that, like, it scares you. It actually puts you in a situation where you're like, man, this is like a reality, because you immerse yourself in such a real environment, even though it's not real yet. Cause at the time I was still young then, but you put yourself in this environment where it starts tricking your brain, where you almost get anxiety. It's like, no, we got to make a move because I'm not doing the things I need to be doing. So I did something like that for a little bit. And honestly, it was like a great experiment to really realize that, like, again, time is the most precious and valuable asset you have. Like, how you spend it is important. And that test, like, I'm telling you, go research rocking chair test. It will kick you into gear.
Yeah, definitely. Now, talking about time, I think that's one thing that we often ask ourselves, right? I know when I was in corporate America, they always talked about priority management, making sure your priorities are in line. I now believe that that's really not. It's not about priority management. It's about time management. And so what are some maybe ideas or tips you can give us in terms of really making the best of your time, like really managing your time?
Yeah. So look, if you're an entrepreneur, you're an aspiring entrepreneur, this is one thing we're terrible at, especially in the beginning stages. It's like all chaos. So if you're sitting there and you're listening, you're like, man, I suck at time management. I'm doing this and this and this. And then I'm doing this for 5 minutes. I'm trying this for 15 minutes. Don't feel bad. You are not alone. That is part of this blood that we have together. But if you really want to get serious and you really want to start developing and producing products or services or getting things done, whether you want to like mow the lawn or freaking do something, and it's a time management thing, it comes down to one very specific key thing that you have to realize and you have to perform, and that's focus, right? Like there's a difference between work and deep work. Okay, there's a great book out called Deep Work. I recommend it if anyone hasn't read it. But basically, like, you need, in order to have time management, you got to realize you got to focus on things and like set hard start and stop times to them, right? Like, don't go overboard, don't get caught up in if you're going and you're working on something and you set a deadline, or you set like, hey, I'm going to do this for an hour, stick to that time management and kind of like plan out a schedule. Okay. And when you do that, and it's like a habit, right? It's like working out, or it's like, going on a diet, right? It's going to take some time. It's going to suck at first. You're probably not going to want to do it that much, but if you get in that rhythm of doing it, you're going to be able to manage your time more effectively by sticking to a schedule and staying laser focused on the task in that hour. And a good example is, for example, like let's say the first hour of your day, you're like, and I'm going to use email, for example. You want to check your email. Do nothing else but check that email until you're done. Don't text. Don't get on the phone. If someone calls you, call them back, right? Don't jump to social media. Get that done for that time and then move on to the next thing, and do it for one day. And if one day you don't believe me and you're like, that was crap, whatever, fine, shame on me. But I'm telling you, if you follow that rhythm over and over again, you're going to be amazed at how much stuff you can get done.
Yeah. Do you have like do you create like a daily scheduler for yourself to kind of manage your time, or
it's all here now? But at first, gotcha. I was writing it down, right? Like, I'm a creature of habit. I wear the same thing every day, right? Yeah. People ask like, why do you wear the same thing every day? Like Mark Zuckerberg gets that question, right? Yeah. Steve Jobs got that question, and I didn't realize I was doing it, but it's because I don't want to put brain power onto a decision like fashion. I just want to throw a shirt on, some shorts on, and get out the door, right? So it's all here now in my head. I'm very habitual, creature of habit, do the same thing every day, right? How I structure my day, same thing. But at first, it was nuts. It was wild. It was chaotic. I got nothing done. I was all over the place. I was like a pinball, right? So my first recommendation is, when you're first starting out, keep it simple. You don't have to plan your day where you're like, this is 30 things you're going to do. Pick like 3 things that you're going to do and accomplish, and start there, and then just add and take away from that list as you optimize it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So at which point did you did you become an entrepreneur, right? You said you stumbled into what you're doing now. How did that happen?
Yeah. Back in college, actually, my business partner and I, we were studying for an exam, and we all know as students, right? Studying for an exam was the most miserable experience in the world. All this information in your head just to regurgitate it, hope to get a good grade, and then remember nothing. And we're studying these study guides that are just like full of all this information, and it was miserable. And we look at each other, we're like, there's got to be a better way to study. This is terrible. So we had this idea. We were drinking alcohol that night, and we had this idea, let's create what we call these Visi guides. And we create these Visi guides, and all we did was take your traditional study material in school, and we transformed it into visual information, mnemonic devices, visuals, animations, video, you name it. Same information, changed the modality in which you got to absorb it. We created a website on WordPress, sold them for $5, or put a price tag of $5. And then we had this crazy idea where we bought a gorilla suit. And I have footage of this. It's crazy. And we buy this gorilla suit, and I get in this gorilla suit. He gets in like 1980s attire with like a freaking like Hawaiian shirt, boombox, sunglasses. And we bombard one of our classes at the university I was at. 3,000 students get in the front of the room, and I'm just doing guerrilla marketing, right? Yeah. And I'm like, hey, like, go buy this. You want an A on your next exam? Here's what you need. We leave. We do this gorilla stunt. We go to the bar. We start drinking, and like an hour goes by, and we had our first sale for like $5 and went nuts. And like that entire night generated like $800. That entire semester made like $5,000 in sales. And look, we're college students. We're broke as hell. So like that was a lot of money to us at the time. And that was it. That is how I got into understanding the power, almost not just so much in business, but more importantly behind digital products, right? Where you get to create it once, set it and forget it. And it collects revenue as long as you like build desire and you market it and drive traffic to it. And that's kind of where my journey started when it came to an online business.
Yeah. Talk about, for some people, and I'm not sure that was for you, but talk about being uncomfortable, like doing something that's uncomfortable, yet is going to yield you some sort of results, right? And I think that's where people get hung up. We're so comfortable of doing the day-to-day things that we do, that the little thing that might be uncomfortable we're so afraid to do that. And you know, again, getting in front of the classroom, you know, 3,000 students on this suit is like, that could be uncomfortable for some people, you know?
It's actually very uncomfortable. Honestly, if you go into that comfortably, then I would say there's something wrong with you.
Right.
Because you should be uncomfortable. Here's the one thing I've learned in my years of business, right? Every time you're comfortable, you're not going to make money. You're not going to push things forward. Yeah. Are you safe? Sure. Can you collect a paycheck at a job? I'm talking specifically as entrepreneurs, right? You're nothing good ever comes from a comfort zone, right? And it's not supposed to. If that time you get a little anxiety, you get with the stomach drops, right? You're not feeling well because you're about to do something, whether it's a big speech, whether you're going to go launch something to the public for the first time, whether you turn on your phone and you click, I'm going live on Facebook, you should probably feel very uncomfortable. But I promise you this, when you are feeling uncomfortable is the most growth you will have, not only as an entrepreneur, but more importantly, as an individual. And that is when your bank account will start growing. That is when you will start growing. It's when you do things that make you uncomfortable, because when you're uncomfortable is when you grow, and growing is the name of the game here. So yeah, anyone, if you're, trust me, I was there. Dude, Cesar, I was so scared to do half the stuff I did. I was uncomfortable. I was like, I'm not doing it. There's no way. People are going to judge me. I'm going to fail. I'm going to look like an idiot. And then when I got over that limiting belief and I killed that story in my head that I kept telling myself, and I created a new story in its place, and I started doing the stuff, my entire life changed. My entire career changed. My business changed. I changed. And as a result, I would look back and I go, why didn't I do that faster?
Yeah. Talking about limiting beliefs, that's another aspect where, again, we have these little voices in our head, you know, or just what we see, right? Even with our family, right? Maybe it was that positive for our brother, sister, parents, whatever, right? What kind of limiting beliefs were you fighting? And besides doing these things that were uncomfortable, what else did you do to really overcome those limiting beliefs?
Yeah. So look, this is what we do as humans, right? It's like the worst thing we do, but we do it, right? Because it protects us. It protects us, you know, makes us warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
In any situation that instantly your brain is like, I don't want to do that, right? It's, first off, that's a trick. That's your brain playing a trick on you, trying to protect you from an outcome that it does not desire, but it's not true. Let me give you an example, right? If someone's like, hey, I need you to go speak right now in front of 5,000 students on this topic, like, your brain's instantly like, don't want to do it. Not going to happen, right? Because you start getting scared. What if I sit? What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens, right? They're going to judge me. They're going to laugh. I'm going to look like an idiot. I'm going to be embarrassed, right? Your brain's doing everything possible to say, don't do that thing. And you have to realize, like, as humans, we create these limiting beliefs in situations that we don't want to do because it protects our ego. It protects us from putting ourselves out there, right? And it gives us the excuse to go, I can't do that. Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, you know, I tried that. I can't do it, right? And we try and shift the blame to everything else, when in reality, it's just us kind of being a little soft about the situation. So the number one thing you can do look, I truly believe that every human out there is capable of literally doing anything they want. They can. Look, yeah, is that a general statement? Sure. Like, can I go play in the NBA right now? No. No matter how hard I practice, no matter how hard I try, I'm not going to be an NBA basketball player. But for the most part, if you have a desire, if you have a will to do something, you can accomplish it. The only thing standing in your way is the BS story that you're telling yourself as to why you can't do it. So the number one thing you need to do when you're ever in a situation where you're like, I can't do that, or I'm not good enough, or no way, it's too hard for me, is realize that you're telling yourself a story, and you need to eliminate that story from your brain and replace it with a brand new story of, I can do this. Like, instead of saying like how, like it's no longer saying like I can't, and changing that to how can I, or what if. And when you start doing that, the neurological connections in your brain are going to start shifting. And when that happens, you're going to have a whole new thought process. And the things that you once thought were impossible for you to do, you can now overcome. And that's really the key. Like business and life, I didn't believe this for the longest time. It is 100% mindset. It is mindset. Your mind is the thing standing it's the bridge from where you're at to where you want to be in life. Okay. And if you're not where you're at in life, a lot of that is going to come down to the crappy stories that you filled your head with as to why you can't accomplish something.
Yeah, that's very powerful, and I can definitely see how critical it is to really work on your mind. And a lot of times is really, it's just a form of framing, right? How you look at things, how you speak to yourself, how you speak to others. It's just really looking at it from a different lens, right? And it's kind of like the analogy. You have these glasses that are very dirty, and you're looking out, and you see one image. Then you clean the glasses, the lens, and you see a total different image, right? So you got to be able to work on that. And I totally agree with you on that. Now, talking about doing that and going through those limiting beliefs and really creating, eliminating those and creating something for you, right? Like, how has that been in terms of your journey? Because I know it's not an overnight thing. And a lot of people say, well, I just did this last week, or I've been working on it for 2 days or 3 days. And then I'm like, it's not working. Like, what is your message on that?
Yeah. So look, there's this thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Another thing to look up. It's an amazing thing. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And basically it's this process that occurs when you first start working on something. You have like this uninformed optimism to informed pessimism to all these different cycles you go through, right? So if you're out there, first off, look that up. It's an amazing thing. It will help you understand where you're at with what you're doing and kind of make you realize like you're going through this process on anything you start from the get-go, right? You just have to realize, look, if you're working on something and it's not panning out the way you want it, it's just because you're most likely, okay? Unless the idea is just like there's the idea you have is just not a fit for whatever reason. A big reason why most people give up on their dreams and they give up on the things that they're working on is because they don't realize it. You're just not good enough yet. Okay. That's what it comes down to, right? Like, don't think you're going to go into something and be like, oh, I'm going to be a freaking, like, think of how silly it sounds, right? It's like when people come to the digital marketing space, like, you're not going to become amazing overnight. Like, you can start a business overnight. Yes, you can become an overnight entrepreneur 100%. But you have to acquire a skill set. Think of how crazy it would be for me, Cesar, to walk into a doctor's office and be like, yeah, I'm just going to be a doctor today. It's like they would look at me and laugh. They'd be like, it takes time. It takes skill set, right? Like, that's what it is. So you have to realize that the main reason people are giving up on their dreams and stuff is because, honestly, you're not giving enough time to propagate to really just become good. You're going to suck in the beginning, period. There's no way around it. Just realize that. Anything I try for the first time, I suck at. That's just what it is. The difference is how long can I embrace the suck to keep pushing forward to eventually suck less and then suck a little less. And now I'm okay. And now I'm good. And now I'm great. And now I'm one of the best in the world, right? And that's kind of that process you have to take yourself through. And most people give up because they're in this phase where they're like, I still suck. And it's been like 2 weeks and I can't do it anymore. No, you're just being a little soft about it. And you need to push through all the bull crap because entrepreneurship is not dandelions and rainbows. It takes effort, it takes hard work, and it takes a mindset to push through. So if you're working on something and you're like, man, this isn't working out, I've been doing this for 3 months, keep pushing forward. You will get there because entrepreneurship is all about process of elimination. When you fail, that is the best learning experience you could have in your life. It doesn't mean you know what to do next. It at least means you know what not to do. And with each new venture or each new iteration of something, you can at least take what you learned from that failure and apply some part of it to the new iteration. Okay. Like, I failed for 5 years straight. Like, imagine that. Hey, listen, wake up today. You're going to fail for 5 years straight. And then you might have a chance at making it. Okay. And that is what you have to go into with this concept, because I promise you, if you stick at something long enough, you are going to become good at it. I've never met someone in my life that had a passion for something and sucked at it.
Yeah, no, and I love that. And you definitely is the resilience. You got to keep pushing forward.
Always.
Just keep going. And it kind of goes back to one point is like you rehearse, you review, and you revise, right? And just always look at your business or whatever you're doing. Rehearse it, review it, revise it. It's like the software industry, right? They do this all the time. If you think about it, they put out some content and then they find some bugs and they put out crap 2.0. Or Windows XP, Windows 98, whatever, right? And so it's all of that. You got to keep going through and moving through that, from my perspective, right? Now, in terms of the things that you do, so do you work with individuals, companies? How's your business structure?
Yeah, so we had an agency, right? We kind of closed the doors on it because we wanted more impact, right? At the end of the day, like, money is great, but what money really gives you is freedom. And after that freedom, you start looking for more. You want more, but you don't want more necessarily in terms of like, how can I make more money? That's great and all. It's more of like, how can I be more fulfilled? right? And when we were working on the agency, we realized, like, you know what, this is great helping people. We love it. Like, it's awesome to work. We had some of the most amazing clients, but we realized like we weren't making enough bang for our buck in terms of impact. So we closed up the doors to the agency and we decided, you know what, let's take our skill set and let's turn it into more of info product related stuff to scale to impact way more people. So that's what we did. We started creating online programs and courses to help other aspiring entrepreneurs, whether you're brand new or whether you've been in the space or the game for a couple of years. We now teach you how to leverage the power of the internet to start an online business, the same way that we did it, you know, back in college. And look, I was the biggest skeptic ever. I'm like, half this stuff's a scam. This stuff's crap. It doesn't work. Look, all the taboo stuff that no one talks about. I was that guy. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing it. It's a scam. It doesn't work. And then you realize you make a little bit of money and you're like, wow, like I was telling myself this story because I was failing and I wasn't making money. So what could I do to find a way to justify it? Oh, it's a scam. Oh, it doesn't work. Oh, it's crap. And I started coming up with excuses. And then the moment we started making a little bit of money, I realized I was just filling my head with excuses and BS stories as to why I wasn't becoming successful. So like I said, if I can get over it, I know I can teach everyone else to get over it. And that's what we do now. We create online programs to help people start a profitable online business. And, you know, we have, you know, thousands of students worldwide, and we just focus on that. We say, you know what, how can we help the most people ever?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Where can people find you if they wanted to connect with you?
Yeah, so I have a free Facebook group. It's called the Freedom Fighters. Launch your first $1 million sales funnel. You'll understand why we call it the Freedom Fighters. It's financial freedom over that. But it's a free group. Go in there. We'd love to have you. We're hanging out in there all the time. I do lives. I come in, you know, trainings, content, whatever it is. It's just an amazing group of individuals. And I would say that's the best place to start.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of if you were to go back and look at your entire life, what has been maybe one of your biggest obstacles that you have to overcome?
Gosh, if I had to go back and honestly, the biggest obstacle, it comes back to really everything we've talked about in this entire podcast. Like, not, you know, go figure, right? It's your brain, right? It's getting over yourself, getting out of your own way, realizing that, look, you are good at something. Everyone is good at something, whether you realize it or not, whether you found your passion or not, keep searching for it. I promise you, if you put enough of that elbow grease and effort in, you will find what you love doing every single day, whether it's underwater basket weaving, creating tie-dye shoelaces, selling bicycles, like teaching people how to play the piano, whatever it is, you have a skill set. And you have to realize the worst thing that you can do is sabotage yourself by saying you're not good enough. I promise you, we all go through what's called imposter syndrome, where we're like, I'm not good enough to teach that, but you don't realize you are good enough to teach that. In fact, you're probably better than most people on this planet to teach it. And the best thing, the biggest hurdle I had to get over was realize that I'm good and I need to stop telling myself stories as to why I can't accomplish something. And then when that flip switched in my brain, everything changed. So biggest hurdle I went through was telling myself I couldn't accomplish something by protecting my own ego. And it was the biggest sabotage you could ever do to yourself. The second I gave it that story up, everything changed.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love it. You've given us a lot of great tips. I want to ask you one more question and see if I can get one more out of you. If the people that are watching us and are listening to us, if they're going through any kind of challenge right now, whatever that might be, what is one thing that they can do right now to start overcoming that challenge?
That's a great question. Okay. To overcome that challenge, I think the best thing to do is kind of sit back and really evaluate the situation. Like, what is the problem? What's giving you the problem? What is it that's hanging you up? Right. And then try, like we talked about, look at it from a different lens. Like, when you're so immersed in your own stuff all the time, it's hard to like see it from a different lens. A really good way to try and get over a problem or a situation or something is talk to someone about it. Like, one thing we hate doing as entrepreneurs is really opening up. We hate it. We just like want to feel like we own the world and like we don't need help from anyone and we're going to figure things out on our own. Honestly, it's like, open up a little bit. Go talk to someone, whether it's a friend, whether it's a colleague, whether it's a family member, and let them know what's going on and get a different perspective of it. Because when you get too immersed in your own stuff, you become blind to it and you're just going to start spinning in circles. You need a fresh perspective. So one of the best ways to get over and start overcoming, whether it's a piece of adversity you're going through or a problem you're having in your business, or if you're trying to start a business, talk to someone about it and get their feedback and see if it can help shape the way you look at that problem through a different lens.
Yeah, I love that. That's definitely a golden nugget there. So I definitely love that. Blake, anything else you want to say before I let you go?
Oh man, I appreciate everyone listening. Appreciate you guys listening and hanging out with us. Honestly, whatever it is that you want to do in life, my only piece of advice is just go do it. Go try. Worst case scenario, if all fails and nothing works out to his plan, you are back right where you started, which means you have nothing to lose and you have so much to gain. So go out there, go make a fool of yourself, go fail, go get kicked in the face on whatever. And hypothetically, go fail your face off, because on the other side of that failure is something amazing, and I want everyone to experience that.
Yeah, and you know what? With that is like a lot of times we allow the fear of failure take away the opportunity that's in front of us, right? So don't allow that failure take away that opportunity. So I definitely love that message. Blake, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you.
Appreciate it, Cesar. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Please make sure you comment, like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. You can find us on your podcast platform, whatever you can find us. So again, I'll see you in the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Goodbye.
Hi, I'm CesarRespino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.